How did the Jaipur Literary Festival happen to you?
It actually all happened by accident. It's really my passion. The pandemic, of course, has been a disaster. The entertainment industry has been hit entirely.
Jaipur Literary Festival from here, all of us want to know, how do we see it?
What we did here was we created a new series called JLF's Brave New World. You will see technology just taking over. Now, the new haves and have-nots are those who have bandwidth and those who don't.
Thank you so much, Sanjay Roy, sir, for making time for our listeners and viewers on India Podcast. Of course, I need no introduction for a man who is the producer of JLF, the biggest literary festival in the globe, to say so. And of course, he's also he's the managing director for the team artwork. And more to know about him as we go forward. Thank you so much for joining us on this program today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
We all have been quite fascinated by the Jaipur Literary Festival for the longest time. We have known since 2008, if I'm not wrong. How did JLF happen to you? How did the Jaipur Literary Festival happen to you? What led you into coming into this space?
So, unlike what Harvard Business School teaches, that we had a 5-year and a 10-year and a 15-year plan to take over the world by doing one of the largest, fastest growing cultural products in the world, it actually all happened by accident. So in 1999-2000, we began creating a platform for work from India at the Edinburgh Festival, which is the world's largest arts festival in the world, in the UK. And two people from Jaipur, John and Faith Singh from Anokhi, had come out to see what we were doing. So they came to us and said, this is what you've been doing in Edinburgh. Why can't you help us set up a festival like this in Jaipur? They set up the Jaipur Virasat Heritage Festival, which was very successful and ran for some years. And unfortunately, that festival ran into, usual problems that most festivals run into. With Namita and William, who had already started the literature segment, we said, okay, why don't you all keep the main festival and we will take the literature program and create what has now become the Jaipur Literature Festival. 11, 12 years ago, on a cold winter morning in Jaipur in January, I was wondering, who would come if we had done a dipstick survey as to whether Jaipur should be the home to a literature festival. I don't think anybody would have even agreed or ticked the box, so to speak. But hey, people came, and everybody who came to the festival in that first year, 5,000-6,000 people. They then went back and told their friends, and next year, 14,000 people came, and the third year, 30,000 people came, and the fourth year, 60,000, and it kept growing to what you've seen it today. And then about 6 years ago, I think, we then decided, why don't we look at taking the festival also outside? Because, of course, so we started JLF in London, initially at the South Bank. And then we said, okay, what's the second biggest place from where people come? And meanwhile, Oprah Winfrey had come to the Jaipur Literature Festival. So we said, okay, let's look at the United States, because so many people had been coming from the United States to the Jaipur Literature Festival. And then suddenly I get this email, literally from nowhere, saying, we love your festival, and we know that you won't think of Boulder, Colorado, but what if we dreamt of getting the festival? I didn't know where Boulder, Colorado was. I knew what Colorado was. And the city of Boulder had voted to bring this unknown festival. And it took 6 months to make that decision to go to Boulder. And the reason we made that decision is that every time I went to Boulder to meet people, I realized just how wonderful and how educated and well-traveled and amazing they were, which was quite different.
What was your personal moment that you thought, okay, this is something I want to go ahead with? I mean, with all the things working in place, people approaching, you never thought it'll grow as big as it reached out across the globe. What led you into this?
When you create something, that's the last thing you look at as to, where will this go and what will happen. It's always about doing something that you want to do. And you try and do it in the best way possible. And that's what we do for any of our festivals: Hong Kong, Australia, Egypt, South Africa, Turkey, Morocco. Sure, in some places it's like, because I'm a great foodie, I love traveling. It's like, Okay, in Toronto, it was wow. The distillery district had the best chocolate shop ever in the entire world. So I was like,
You're a chocolate
this is
lover
the
that
place
way.
we're going to. Turkey was like, oh my God, it's so incredible. The food is incredible. You dream of places like this.
Kind
Incredible.
of brought together the culture, art, reading ability, and something you're fond of, that is food, right? So you try to make an amalgamation of your personal fondness towards art, culture, food, travel, and made this huge, larger than life festival. Was that also one of the reason that you made all your interests and hobbies and fondness come together in a
Yeah,
place?
as you know, this has never been for me. It's never been a hobby. It's always been my work. It's what I do. And when you have long hair, you can't do anything else. Not that a bank or a retail or a consultancy is giving you a job. So this is what I've done all my life. I've been in theater, I've been in the arts, I've been in television, I've been in film, and I've always loved everything that I've done. So it's really my passion, and my passion is my job. So yeah.
That passion that you have towards culture, art, films, food, everything. If you want to know a little personal taste of yours, what is your favorite when you talk about art form? What is your favorite art form? Which is your favorite food cuisine? Also, I mean, you love traveling. So if you can together bring us three important first your important place that you like to be, or the best place you've been in the world, and the best cuisine you would want to have if this was the last year 2020 to say so, and of course the art or culture which is most close to your heart, whether it's theater, music, books, what is it?
Best is such a complicated word. So
Or
let's put
favorite?
down the best. But certainly, where every place, you go to Chandni Chowk, it's fascinating. You go to, Old Delhi, it's fascinating. So similarly, every place that I've been to, or every place that I have, or we've set up festivals in, have been absolutely fascinating. So at the end of the day, it's really about what you take in. And for me, it's also about the people. And like you rightly said, it's about the cuisine. So do I have a favorite cuisine? Not necessarily. I love everything. I love Japanese food. I love Chinese food, though may not be the best thing to say right now. I like Mexican air dried worms. I love grasshoppers at Omel in Washington. I love deep fried scorpions with liver. For me, it's what is interesting, what can I explore. It's really about that. And sure, I mean, if you give me on an average day rajma chawal, certainly not my
Yeah.
favorite menu or my favorite dish, and it's unlikely that I would necessarily have it. I dream of dishes at night. If I'm hosting a dinner or lunch the next day, I
Wow.
dream of something at night, and it'll be an amalgamation of all my experiences or my latest experience. And
We should
sometimes it
have a
works and
good
sometimes it doesn't.
food show by Sanjay Roy very soon, where we can have dreaming your food and preparing it, if
Well, that
that's
won't
the
be the first. But in the early days when television had just opened, I used to host two food shows, the Indian Spice Trail and Melting Pot,
yes.
which was, across the world. But now one has less time to indulge in that kind of stuff.
Going from here, most important part of the situation we are in, we all know we've come to 2020 showing us quite a lot of things, not just the pandemic, corona, eclipses. We can count on the things that we saw. And kind of this year has been branded as not a great year for so many to understand largely. Jaipur Literary Festival from here, people, all of us want to know how do we see it? You have quite mentioned that it is an opportunity also to look through when you don't get time to look through things. How are you visioning Jaipur Literary Festival from here in every aspect coming
Well,
forward?
as you know, what happened with the pandemic is that obviously everything came to a standstill, and post March, we were just able to complete our festival in Egypt, and after that, Morocco and Turkey and Hong Kong and India, everything is obviously now over. And the pandemic, of course, has been a disaster for entertainment and the arts and events across the world, $1 trillion of cancellation across the world. But I think what it's certainly given us is an opportunity to reboot and to reinvent. When you're doing the same old, you're being busy in the task of being busy. So you're just busy being busy, and because you're also being successful, you don't look at a new product. But what I think COVID and the lockdown has done for us is we've been able to look at a whole slew of new products. So look at the Jaipur Literature Festival. It's not that we didn't have digital before. Of course, everything that we used to do at the Jaipur Literature Festival or any of our other 33 festivals across the world has always been filmed and then shown online digitally on Facebook and YouTube and blah, blah. But what we did here was we created a new series called JLF's Brave New World, where we've had everybody from His Holiness the Dalai Lama to Nobel laureates to scientists to, because we believe that in this time, especially when the world is shutting down, it's super important to allow for a free flow of knowledge and scientific information. Because without that, you won't see progress. Without that, you won't see how to defeat Corona or COVID. So that was our intent. And we were able to do that we've been able to do that very, very effectively. So similarly like that, we've been rolling out product after product. We're doing a new series. I think the big challenge, as I'm sure you all will know as well, so who's paying for it? And where will the money come from? And is there money at the end of the day? And does digital pay for itself? And I think the world is grappling with that issue, not just us, the Amazons, the Googles, everybody is trying to figure out how, at the end of the day, you pay that bill.
Important thing that you mentioned here, who will pay for it, and where I wanted to come to this question later, though you picked it up, is in this situation, when I'm talking about India also and globally, we are into complete recession. Now, how do you look at this whole consumption market by the art culture people who are the consumers and also the people who are paying to create these platforms? How is this going to play out with the kind of economic recessionary mode we have stepped in? Is this quite a place to balance it and see the same growth or the same stability to the entire platform that you have created?
So they're certainly not going to be the same. I mean, as we know, the world has, not just India, the world has gone into recession. And you're looking at negative growth of between 20 to 25% of GDP, with most people predicting India will have a negative 4.7% growth. So you're looking at a 8 to 10% negative growth in this coming years. The best case scenario is that people are saying we'll climb out of a Nike V-shaped reception 2022 to 24. That's the best case scenario. You're absolutely right. The entertainment industry has been hit entirely. One is because in infrastructure, you can't open up venues, theaters, etc. B, people aren't being able to come together. You can't rehearse. You can't do anything. And you have to remember the biggest impact is on the artist and the artisan. Because if they don't perform every day and if they don't produce, whether it's a beautiful mug or a lamp or whatever every day and be able to sell it, they basically don't eat. The second issue, which is a larger issue in all of this, is how do you kickstart consumption? And I think every big brand in the world today is worrying about it. They're saying people are locked down, salaries have been cut. So in lockdown, you're not doing your shopping beyond the essentials, dal, roti, chawal, whatever you do. So you're not buying your Prada or your Louis Vuitton or your Audi cars, etc. So you've got out of the habit of going to a mall or a luxury chain or a Zara or whatever it is and doing what you would normally do. So how do you kickstart that when the lockdown finishes? Because now you have two problems. You have a problem where you have a lack of a raw material, so production is stopped, labor forces have disappeared, shelves are empty, and then you have a problem of people not being able to access it. And by the time they do that, will they actually want to buy? But every research paper, BCG, Boston Consulting Group, Deloitte, etc., has said that entertainment and media will be the fastest to reboot, 47%, etc. Media will slag off because there'll be no revenues driving it. But we are seeing already that the consumption for entertainment online, Andrew Lloyd Webber, National Theatre, National School of Drama, big concerts, Sonu Nigam, blah, 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 everything online, the content is being consumed at a 47% growth. That's good news. but will people pay? That's the question.
Now that we are into a leap of change, we all know change is constant, but now the rate of change is all higher. When I say that, I mean the content absorption, the platform as you define have changed. We have Netflix, we have other ways of art being online available. Are you visioning this change to be growing in folds, like what we are seeing now is going to change in quick moment now? What people are liking today, within a year or two or less than that, things would change of taste would happen pretty faster. The rate of change is going to be higher. Are we prepared in the art and culture space for that change? Are we really visioning through what can be coming by in the coming 10 years, or if 5 years if I have to take that shorter span? Understand?
You're absolutely right. If digital 1.0 was the invention of email and so on and so forth, and 2.0 was social media, Facebook and TikTok and Twitter and so on and so forth. 3.0, which is this new world that we are now entering, you will see technology just taking over. Are artists in a place to be able to keep up to this speed? The biggest issue, earlier, the haves and have-nots were divided with school or university you went to,
Yes.
or what language you spoke. Now, the new haves and have-nots are those who have bandwidth and those who don't. So you and I are the haves. Those artists and artisans, even if they are in Delhi and don't have the bandwidth and can't put their shows on, or can't become part of an existing show, or can't market their ware or their product or their new invention, they're the have-nots. So that is the biggest problem. And because the myth of India and the myth of our government is we are in the digital economy. Digital economy? What and where, when you're not even being able to make a payment online, when all of Kashmir is blocked and they can't do anything? What digital economy and what even playing field platform are we looking at?
But when you say we are not there digitally, don't you see in the next 10 years we are there? We're quite working towards it quite fast. So the have not gap that you have created as the category might be there, not in 5 years, then
It's
10.
taken 70 years where still 40% of your population or our population is below the poverty line. So if you think that in 10 years, suddenly we're going to be able to bridge that gap, I suspect you may well be subscribing to the $10 trillion fantasy.
So Roy, one personal question I had. I know we are on the wrapping up mode right now, but one question is: you've attended so many of these festivals. You're a foodie, a traveler. Which is your? It's quite biased to ask you, but which is your one favorite JLF till now that you have to be? Not being biased, but like a favorite, like something I really can't forget in my memory. So, which year was
So,
that? Or which?
the only festivals of the 33 festivals that we do, the only festivals that I go to, each one of them are the 8 JLFs that we host in Jaipur, London, Belfast, Boulder, Colorado, Houston, New York, Toronto, Adelaide, Australia, and Doha in Qatar. I go to every one of them. Do I have a favorite? Each one of them is different. Each conversation is amazing. But here with JLF's Brave New World, I'm involved in every section. So it's been amazing. It's an amazing learning because you have the world's best, from Margaret Atwood to Aran Pamuk to Dr. Siddharth Mukherjee to Ambrish Sathwik to Pavan Verma to Shashi Tharoor to Margaret, everybody, Venki Ramakrishnan, the Nobel laureates. It is the most incredible opportunity and a deep dive into knowledge and the way the world works, not just here, but literally across the world. This is, and I get it all for free.
Everybody gets it for free. Thanks for that passion that you have in you that helped us all be a part of this cultural festival. And I hope I am also lucky enough to be part of there in person and not just always be experiencing it virtually. I was not successful in getting your favorite though. Huh? I have been trying right from my first question that he will zero down on one, but I think you're a person who quite admires a lot more than just one in anything you do. So thank you so much for being there with us on India Podcast today. And it's a pleasure. And we hope that all the ideas that you're coming out with do find their shape in time as we go ahead. So thank you so much, Sanjay, Mr. Roy, for bringing that time and perception to us.
Brought to you by India Podcasts in association with ICI Healthcare.